الحمد لله رب العالمين له الحمد الحسن والثناء الجميل وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه والتابعين لهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Inshallah ta'ala, we're in the kitab Risaalah latifah by Sheikh Abdul Rahman ibn Naseer As-Sa'dee rahimahullah. Alhamdulillah, we've taken a large portion of the book, and now what's left is تقريبا 3 chapters inshallah ta'ala. تقريبا. Yeah, so we have 3 chapters left inshallah ta'ala, and we're finished inshallah ta'ala. After 3 chapters, we are finished inshallah ta'ala. Okay, today inshallah ta'ala's chapter, the author, he speaks about usul mustanbatah min al-kitabi was-sunnah, principles that are extracted from the Quran and the Sunnah. These are principles that have been derived, has been extracted from the Quran and the Sunnah. These are very important principles that the author rahimahullah mentions. Okay? He says, وأخذ الأصوليون من الكتاب والسنة أصولا كثيرا بنوا عليها أحكاما كثيرة جدا ونفعوا وانتفعوا بها. He says that the scholars of usul al-fiqh, the usuliyin, he said that they took from the Quran and the Sunnah principles. They took from the Quran and the Sunnah principles. بنوا عليها أحكاما, and they built, based on that, they have built many rulings on it. And these principles they took out from the Quran and the Sunnah, they built it upon many of their arguments. And many of the usuliyin, if you go back to their arguments, you tend to find it's based upon an asal that they are picking up from, a qa'idah that they're using. Okay? Which they benefited from and they benefited others. فَمِنْهَا, the author now gives examples of some of them. فَمِنْهَا, from them is الْيَقِينُ لَا يَزُولُ بِالشَّكِّ. الْيَقِينُ لَا يَزُولُ بِالشَّكِّ. Certainty cannot be removed with doubt. Certainty cannot be removed with doubt. This is a qa'idah they took from the Quran and the Sunnah. They took it from the Quran and the Sunnah, and they used it. Okay? And the evidence is from the Quran and the Sunnah is many, but one of them is that the Prophet ﷺ said to the man, do not leave the prayer حَتَّى تَسْمَعَ صَوْتًا أَوْ تَجِدَ رِيحًا. Do not leave the prayer until you hear a sound that comes out or you smell something. And you're praying, you're in doubt whether you broke your wudu in the salah. The Prophet ﷺ said to the companion, don't leave the prayer unless you hear something or you smell something. Yani certainty is what you can leave the prayer based on. Once you're certain, now leave the prayer. So from there they took qa'idah, which is, you knew you did something, yani you knew that you had wudu. Now you're in doubt whether you broke your wudu or not. Okay? Then what we say is, stick with the certainty, which is that you knew you had wudu. The fact that you broke it or not is a doubt, right? الْيَقِينُ لَا يَزُولُ بِالشَّكِّ. A man has a doubt. Okay? A man has a doubt. And has he divorced his wife or not? There's a man who has a doubt whether he divorced his wife or not. We will say to him, no, you haven't divorced your wife. She's still your wife. The reason is because the certainty of you marrying her, or you marrying her, is certain. We all know that you've been married to her. The people know, the community know, the people who are your nikah, everyone is there. And it's known. You're doubtful whether you broke that certainty. Okay, you have to remove it with another certainty. You can't remove it with a doubt. So this qa'idah you can see, al-yaqinu la yazulu bil-shak, أما اليقين لا يزال بالشك is a very comprehensive principle. It's a very comprehensive principle. And it is one of the 5 major principles يعني قواعد الفقهية. The author also says some of the principles that the scholars used is الأصل الطهارة في كل شيء. The scholars also used the قواعد known as الاستصحاب. Al-istisḥab is قواعد that the default position, which this is taken from, these ones that he's going to mention now are all taken from the قاعدة اليقين لا يزول بالشك. يعني you can't remove certainty with doubt. For example, I'm walking on the street, for example, and someone pours water over me, and I don't know who did it, and I can't find the person. The asl is that the water is clean until proven otherwise. So it falls under the qa'idah, which is al-yaqeen la yazulu bil-shak. The certainty is that water is clean. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala told us in the Quran that the water is clean. وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً طَهُورًا. We have sent down from the sky pure water. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, هُوَ الطَّهُورُ مَاءُ حِلُّ مَيْتَتُهُ. The water is clean. Now you're doubtful whether that cleanliness is gone. You have to know for sure. You can't remove it with doubt. Okay? الأصل الإباحة إلى ما دل الدليل على نجاسته أو تحريمه. Everything is permissible for you to utilize. Okay? Unless there comes a text and says you can't. Okay? The asl is that we are allowed to eat everything and anything unless proven otherwise. Okay? Also everything is pure until proven otherwise. والأصل براءة الذمم من الواجبات ومن الحقوق الخلق حتى يقوم الدليل على خلاف ذلك. The default position is a person is innocent and is free from any claims and any obligations until proven with certainty. Yani you can't just grab someone on the street and accuse them of something and say, you have to give me 10,000 dirhams. Nah, I'm innocent. I don't have to give you anything. Prove I have to give it to you. Okay? The same is that to say that this ruling is wajib. To say this ruling is wajib, meaning you have to do it. You have to do it. Yani this, Allah made this obligatory on you. The one who says obligation has to bring the evidences. لأن wajib is ziyada, it's something additional, has to bring evidence for it. Okay? Because the default position is I don't have to do anything. I am free from obligations. Anyone who makes things obligatory on me has to bring evidences. And if Allah makes something obligatory on me, then it's obligatory on me. If the Prophet makes it obligatory on me, then it is obligatory on me. But if there's no evidence that Allah and His Messenger made it obligatory on me, the default position is that it's not obligatory on me. The burden of proof is the burden of proof is upon the one who claims the obligation. Okay? والأصل بقاء ما اشتغلت به الذمم من حقوق الله وحقوق عباده حتى يتيقن البراءة والأداء. Someone asked a question. If he was guilty and we do not know, will he be set free? Yani, as I said to you before, is that we have to know he is guilty. If we know he's guilty, then we have to provide our evidences. And if we don't have evidence to provide, he's not guilty. Okay? I'll give you an example. A man saw a woman and a man committing zina. It was one person by himself. He saw it. He saw it with his eyes. يعني رآه بعينيه. He saw it with his 2 eyes. He looked and he saw it. He saw it. Okay. Does this mean they committed zina? No. In the Sharia, no. 2 people saw it? No. 3 people saw it? No. 4 people saw it? Yes. And they're reliable? Now they committed zina. Look how that is. So it's what you can prove. It's what has evidence for it. Okay, brothers and sisters. It's evidence. It's based on evidence. يعني I know someone stole something, but I can't prove it. It's not evidence. It's not an evidence. لأن the asal is that the person is innocent. And if you want to remove that role from their innocency, قُلْ هَاتُوا بُرْهَانَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Bring your evidence. Okay? ومنها the author then says أن المشقة تجلب التيسير. أن المشقة تجلب التيسير. That hardship brings about ease. And if something's hard on a person, Allah تبارك وتعالى loves ease for you. يريد الله بكم اليسر ولا يريد بكم العسر. نعم. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, إذا أمرتكم بشيء فأتوا منه ما استطعتم. If Allah commands you to do something, or the Messenger commands you to do something, you have to do in accordance to your ability. يعني ما استطعتم, whatever you're able to do. It's based upon your ability. And under that, the scholars, they mention, لا واجب مع العجز ولا محرم مع الضرورة. Under this principle, which is المشقة تجلب التيسير, the scholars, they mention, لا واجب مع العجز. There's nothing obligatory when you don't have the ability. There's no obligation. Someone cannot fast. Fasting is obligatory, right? If he doesn't have the ability, there's no obligation on him anymore. It drops. ولا محرم, sorry. And there is no haram مع الضرورة. And there is no haram مع الضرورة when there's necessity. ولا محرم. There's no haram مع الضرورة when there's a necessity. يعني there's nothing haram from you when there is necessity. There's no reason. Also, the scholars, they mention that the necessity, anyone can just say, oh, it was necessity, I did it out of necessity. The author brings another قاعدة, which is الضرورة تبيح المحظورات الراتبة والمحظورات العارضة والضرورة تقدر بقدرها. The necessity, the ضرورة, is something that permits for a person any and everything. Necessity permits for you any and everything. لكن we have to observe the necessity. The necessity has to be looked at. تقدر بقدرها. ما معنى تقدر بقدرها? It means that the ضرورة, its permission is based on its requirement. Someone is going to die, or he has to eat something haram, or he's going to die. So he has to eat pork in order to live. We'll say, okay, no, eat it. If you're going to die, eat it. So he eats it. And then what does he do? He eats it another day. Yani he takes some of the pork, puts it in his bag, he goes home, and he eats it for a week. Yeah. Then this is wrong. You can't. Why? لأن الضرورة تقدر بقدرها. It's based upon the need. It's based upon that need. You can't go beyond and more than that. صح? You can't go more and beyond that. And some of the examples that scholars sometimes give is that a person is in your house, he wants to harm you. You are allowed to repel him based upon whatever can remove him. Yani if you shout at him, he'll run away. You're not allowed to shoot him. He's a thief, he's in your house. If you say, hey, I can see you, he'll run away. Okay? It's important to understand that. 3 people come into your house. Now you're in a situation where it's more than one. And you know if you say, hey, it's not going to work. But using a stick might work. They use a stick. You know you're stronger than 3 of them. Or even it's one person, but you know. Yani you repel them with ability. Or you've got a gun. If you shoot it outside and somewhere else, or at their legs, you'll know they'll stop and they'll leave. Yani you don't stray. Someone comes into your house, you use a bazooka and you kill them. And that's not saying, oh, I was defending myself. No. The defending is a darura, it's a necessity, and it should be done in accordance to the need. Okay? ومنها from the قواعد is الأمور بمقاصدها. things are based upon its, matters are based upon its intention. And of course this one, you know, it enters many things. It enters many things. A man says to his wife, you are free to go. The word you're free to go, does he mean you're divorced? Or does he mean you can go to your parents' house for now? What does he mean by you're free to go? This word is called a kinaya. It's not a sarih, it's not direct. This word, what he means by it is what determines whether he's divorced or not. Okay? He's not married to her, or he is married to her, is all based upon what he intended. Okay? So these are very important principles, very important principles. ويختار أعلى المصلحتين ويرتكب أخف المفسدتين عند التزاحم. You are in a situation where there are two goods. Which one do I take? You take the best of the two. There's two maslaha. There are two goods. Which one's beneficial? I want to pray sunnah, or I have a lesson to teach. And I can't do both. I have to do one. I either pray or I teach. Okay, I pray sunnah. Or I teach. We will say, go and teach. Are you able to do both? No. Okay, just do the teaching. That's better. It's a'la al-maslahataini. It's the higher of the two. Why? Because the benefiting of others takes precedence over the benefit that comes to you alone. Because when you pray, you're going to bring the benefit to yourself. But if you go out there and you teach, the benefit is not just for you, it's for others as well. Other people are going to receive it. But of course, that is used in that tazahumi, when there are two benefits running besides each other. وَيُرْتَكَبُ أَخَفُّ الْمَفْسَدَتَيْنِ عِنْدَ التَّزَاحُمِ. And also when there are two mafasid, there are two harms, you take the lesser of the two. You take the lesser of the two. And you're in a situation where you're going to have to take one of the two harms. Okay? The lesser of the two harms is that which you take. وعند التكافؤ فدرء المفاسد أولى من جلب المصالح. What about if you have maslaha and a mafsada? A maslaha and a mafsada. In a situation like that, repelling the mafsada takes precedence over bringing about any good. You repel the harm first. You're in a situation where you can bring good, okay, or repel a harm. Repelling the harm takes precedence over bringing any good. Any examples? The thing is, the examples sometimes may not be accurate, and sometimes some people may push a principle based upon an example. Okay? So the examples don't necessarily always give you an accurate understanding of the principle. And sometimes people repel a principle based on an example that wasn't accurate. And so because the example wasn't accurate, they'll say that the principle is also not accurate. So that's why these ones, it's hard to really say this is the best example for it. عرفتم? But let's think together a situation we might all agree that there is two harms. Okay? So let me give an example of two maslaha. They're two good, but I'll take the higher of the two. An example is the mistake the Hanafiya fall into. The Hanafiya, they fall into a big mistake, which is what they do is on Fajr, if you go to the masjid, you always, not always, but a lot of the times what you tend to see is they are praying sunnah when the wajib is being led. Sah? Have you guys seen that? That they're praying sunnah when there's wajib. Praying the sunnah is a maslaha, yes. And praying the wajib is a maslaha, yes. Which of the two is a bigger maslaha? Which of the two is a bigger maslaha? The wajib. The wajib. So you go to the wajib. That's why they are taking the lesser of the two. So it goes against this qa'idah without a doubt. And it also even goes against the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said there is no salah when there's the wajib. Okay, it goes against that hadith anyways. But it goes against this principle as well. Okay? Two harms. We got two harms. What about two harms? An example of two harms. Okay. One quick example that comes to me. A woman is in a house and the house is burning, and she will not get time to wear her hijab in order to come out. And if she stays, she will die. Her coming out is a harm, is a mafsada. Her dying in the place is a mafsada. Which of the two is she going to take? No, she will leave the house without no hijab. She will leave the house without no hijab. Correct. Do you see? So she leaves, even though it's a mafsada, lakin it's aqal, it's lesser than the life of this woman. Her life is more honorable. Her presence and her existence is more greater. So what we say is, take the lesser of the two harms. And it enters many more things like that. What about if they're two the same? The maslahah and the mafsada are both the same. An example I may give for that is, for example, okay, not every situation, but mobile phones. Mobile phones. For example, using the mobile phone, it has masalih. There's no one going to debate it. There's a lot of masalih, a lot of khair, a lot of good that is in it. Okay? And using it has a lot of harm. And if I'm good, and I'm being good, in some situations, for some people, the harm and the good might be the same. If your situation is that the good is better more than the harm, then it's qadiyya akhar. And if the evil is more than the good, then it's another discussion. We're talking about someone who, the good and the harm are running parallel to one another. The good and the harm is parallel. In a situation like that, what do? You do dar'ul mafsadati min awla jalbil maslaha. Dar'ul mafsadati, you repel this harm, then thinking about bringing good. Sometimes people say, I'm going to bring this television for my children. They can watch the television because they're going to learn this and this from it. But what about the harm they're going to learn from it? Shouldn't you think about repelling the harm before you think about bringing the good? I think that's always the mindset that should be in a person's mind. Okay? Repelling the harm should be a focus point than thinking about bringing good. I'll give you an example that I tend to find a lot when it comes to the tarbiyah of the children. A lot of parents are really focused on teaching their children the Quran, making their children, become good kids. But what they tend to forget is that they've brought harmful things that have distracted the child. So the good that you're bringing is not going to be beneficial for them because the presence of harm is there. Yani, it's actually better in a lot of the situations for so many parents, they don't bring any good to their children, but at least they repel the harm from them. Do you see my point? It's better that you don't make your child memorize no Quran, no nothing, than just focus on just repelling the harm from him. Are we all together? Because if you try, I'm not saying don't bring good to your children. I'm saying, of course, teach your children the Quran. And that's what you should be doing. But what I'm saying is that if you're trying to bring them Quran, but you're also bringing so much harmful things with it, and you're bringing other problematic things with it, then remember, dar'ul mafsadati awla min jalbil maslaha. Repelling the harm takes precedence over bringing good. Okay? So think about removing the harm, getting rid of the harm, then trying to consider bringing good. Okay? Why do I say that? Because the default position is the fitrah of the person is good originally. If you actually leave someone the way they are, you don't touch them, and they grow up like that, and no interference comes, the person generally turns out to be good. Are we all together? The fitrah of the person is good. Okay? Now, the external things affect a person. It affects a person. If those external things are bad, they make the person go bad. And if the external things are good, they benefit the person in good. So what I say is that spend more time repelling harm and evil things from yourself and from others. And once you've done that, think about bringing good. Yeah? I'll give you an example. If you've got a basket and inside there you put good and bad, good and bad, good and bad. Later, if you look at it, you have nothing. You don't know which one is which. It all mixes up. They all become the same. Whereas, if you think about bringing only good and we're stopping the harm, that's the best situation. If you don't bring anything inside there, you deflect every harm from it. It stays an empty, clean basket. Nothing. Some situations that is better than the fasad that comes into a person. Why? Because ignorance is two types, right? There's a jahl called jahl basit and a jahl murakkab. A compounded ignorance and a compounded ignorance, where the person is he thinks he knows but he doesn't know. That's the one who harm and good has come to him. Mixed up, he doesn't know which one is which now. Another one is jahlun basit, the one whose basket is empty, there's nothing in it. That child that you've deflected everything from generally listens to you, hears everything you say. Whenever you tell him something, it's what you said, he'll take it. And it has a lot of benefits in there. Ala kulli hal, it's a long discussion, but if two good and a harm are running besides one another, think about removing the harm instead of thinking about bringing the good. Okay. لا تتم الأحكام إلا بوجود شروطها وانتفاء موانعها. Okay, another thing the author mentions here is a ruling is not present for something unless the conditions are present and the preventative factor is absent. يعني, you can't say so and so is a Muslim unless the conditions are present and the preventative factors are absent. You can't say so and so is a kafir until the conditions are present and the preventative factor are absent. What does that mean? For example, the conditions are all there. He has sanity, he was not forced to do it, all of the conditions are there. And there's no preventative factor. Things that are preventing this ruling from him. There shouldn't be. Then and only then, we say he is a Muslim, or he's a disbeliever, For example, a person is not called a musalli, a person who's prayed or who prays, unless the conditions are there and the preventative factors are absent. You can use that for everything. You can't call this marriage a marriage unless the conditions are present and the preventative factors are missing. And nothing gets a ruling given to it unless the conditions are there and the preventative factors are missing. So you have to learn shurut and mawani' for everything. The prerequisites for everything and the preventative factors. You need to learn it. That's another qa'idah which is very important. Also, another principle is al-hukmu yaduru ma'illati thubutan wa adama. That a ruling revolves around its reasoning. So, for example, alcohol was made haram because of intoxication. This ruling of haram is connected to this reason, which is intoxication. Alcohol is a fluid. Water is a fluid. What makes alcohol haram and water halal? The reason is because alcohol intoxicates. So that's the reason. Then, the ruling of halal and haram is connected to this intoxication. If the intoxication goes, so let's say we've got alcohol here. Hypothetical scenario. We did something to it, there's no intoxication anymore. This alcohol does not intoxicate. It's taken out. Is it haram? No. It's no longer haram. Why? الحكم يدور مع علة وجودا وعدما أما ثبوتا وعدما. The ruling of haram revolves around the reason. The reason is no longer there. The intoxication is no longer there. So the ruling also goes with it. That's another qa'idah. Okay? For example, I'll give you an example. So-and-so cannot enter the house. Why? Because he's tall. For example, just example. So your reason of preventing this person to enter is because of their height. If I bring someone who's short, you must let them in. Because your reasoning of preventing is no longer there. Does that make sense? So the Sharia connects rulings based on illah, reasoning. If that reasoning is there, if the reasoning is there, the ruling is there. If the reasoning is absent, the ruling is also absent with it. Yani there's no halal or haram there's no haram in that situation. Now, so again, if anything has alcohol in it, okay, and the amount of alcohol in it is still little, but it doesn't intoxicate, it's still haram. Because the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith, مَا أَسْكَرَ كَثِيرُهُ فَقَلِيلُهُ حَرَامٌ. And if someone came up to you now and said, look, let me just take a sip from an alcohol, sip, that's it. Who says haram? But he said, I did not get intoxicated. I am not intoxicated. We'll say, if you had so much of this, would it intoxicate you? Yeah, you will. Then it's haram. And if you sipped it once, what about if you sipped it 10 times? Would you get intoxicated? No. What about 20 times? Maybe. What about 40 times? Yes, definitely. For example, like in some scholars they said, they said that these things that have alcohol in, these sweets, these things that have alcohol in it, if you ate a lot of it, would you ever be intoxicated? I ate so much of it. Would I ever be intoxicated? No. They said, since you won't, it doesn't apply in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, because the Prophet said, مَا أَسْكَرَ كَثِيرُهُ فَقَلِيلُهُ حَرَامٌ. Whatever its large amount intoxicates you, its little amount you can't take. But that's with the condition that if you took a lot of it, it will intoxicate you. Does that make sense? Another principle is الأصل في العبادات الحذر إلا ما ورد عن الشارع تشريعه والأصل في العادات الإباحة إلا ما ورد عن الشارع تحريمه. The author rahimahullah goes into another qa'idah, which is, and these are principles that are taken from the Quran and the Sunnah, is that you can't do anything in the religion unless you have evidence for it. That's why Allah said in the ayah, أَمْ لَهُمْ شُرَكَاء شَرَعُوا لَهُم مِنَ الدِّينِ مَا لَمْ يَأْذَنْ بِهِ اللَّهُ. Anything in this religion, you need evidence for it. And anything when it comes to worldly affairs, it's permissible for you to do it unless there comes a textual evidence that makes it haram from you. Yani you can eat what you want, you can drink what you want, you can wear what you want, unless the Quran and the Sunnah made it haram. Because Allah said in the Quran, هُوَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ لَكُم مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. Allah created everything for you. Everything, Allah created it for you. The author rahimahullah then says, إِذَا وُجِدَتْ أَسْبَابُ الْعِبَادَاتِ. If the reasons of the ibadat are found, وَالْحُقُوقِ, and also the reasons of rights that are upon you are found, the reasons for it has been found, ثَبَتَ, you have to come with that ibadah, or you have to fulfill that haqq. So before we mentioned that if somebody claims something against you, if there's no reason for it, there's no evidence for it, you don't have to do. But if they have their evidence, their proof, you have to do it. Also another qa'idah is al-wajibatu talzamu al-mukallafin. The wajibat are made obligatory upon the mukallaf. Yani whenever we say you have to pray dhuhr, you have to pray asr, you have to pray maghrib, you can't say, are you trying to say that the 2-year-old has to pray? The minute I said you have to pray dhuhr, I'm straight away talking to a mukallaf. Al-wajibatu talzamu al-mukallafina. The wajib, it's only obligatory on the mukallaf. Mukallaf is a person who has 2 criteria. Aqil and baligh. He's sane and he's reached age of puberty. Now we're going to go into another chapter, which is the 9th one. The author rahimahullah, he talks about qawlu sahabi, the statement of a companion. A sahabi statement, is it an evidence? Is it proof? The scholars, they differ upon it. The usuliyin, they differ upon qawlu sahabi. The statement of a sahabi, is it a proof or not? There is a khilaf amongst the scholars. There is. Lakin, the strongest opinion is that the qawlu sahabi is a hujjah, is a proof. When is it a proof? It's a proof if no one opposed him. No one opposed him. And there's no opposition. So he said something and no one opposed him. We have to follow him. If there's another Sahabi that opposed him, or another female companion who opposed him, then one statement is not a proof over the other. One statement of one companion is not a hujjah on another one. Okay? We strengthen their views based on which one is closest to the evidence. And we look at their statement and which one is closer to the evidence. That's what we say. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala said in the Quran, وَالسَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ بِإِحْسَانٍ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Allah mentioned here, السَّابِقُونَ الْأَوَّلُونَ مِنَ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ وَالْأَنصَارِ. Muhajirin and Ansar. And then Allah says, وَالَّذِينَ اتَّبَعُوهُمْ, and those who follow them. The Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith Imam al-Tirmidhi narrated, وَهُوَ حَسَنٌ لِغَيْرِ, the hadith حَسَنٌ لِغَيْرِ مَا أَنَا عَلَيْهِ الْيَوْمَ وَأَصْحَابِي. Anyone who is upon that which I and my companions are upon. Then the companions, their statement is a proof. It's a proof. That's the strongest opinion. Okay? If they have three views amongst themselves, the Sahabas, then we are only allowed to choose within those three views. We're not allowed to create another view outside those views that they had. Number 10, inshallah ta'ala, the last and final chapter. The author, rahimahullah, here he speaks about al-amr wal-nahyu, al-fadl al-umum, al-ijtihad wal-taqleed. He talks about commands and prohibitions, which we already kind of mentioned. And also umum, generalization. The author is going to speak about it here. He's also going to speak about a point that he hasn't spoken about, which is al-ijtihad wal-taqleed. Who's allowed to do ijtihad, independent reasoning? Who is a mujtahid? And who's a muqallid, a blind follower? And if you look at the books of usul al-fiqh, you'll always find that is the final chapter of usul al-fiqh. Yani the chapter of usul al-fiqh, the last chapter is generally al-ijtihad wal-taqleed. Al-ijtihad wal-taqleed. Let's quickly go over it, inshaAllah ta'ala, the amr and the nahi, the commands and the prohibitions. Al-amru bil-shay' nahyun an dhiddihi. If Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala commands you to do something, He's prohibiting you from the opposite. The author is saying that now. Okay? وَالنَّهْيُ عَنْ شَيْءٍ أَمْرٌ بِضِدِّهِ. If Allah prohibits you from something, He's commanding you the opposite. That's the author, what he's saying. وَيَقْتَضِي الْفَسَادَ. And anything that's prohibited from you necessitates fasad. Yani, if you do it, it's corrupt. If Allah prohibited you from something, okay, and you go and do it, it's null and void. For example, a person goes and he does an act of innovation, which Allah prohibited. You're not allowed to innovate in the religion. He goes and he does that action. That action is null and void. It's fasad, it's corrupt. Because of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, مَنْ عَمِلَ عَمَلَ لَيْسَ عَلَيْهِ أَمْرُنَا فَهُوَ رَدٌّ. It's rejected. It's corrupt. It's not going to be accepted. The author then says, إِلَّا إِذَا دَلَّ الدَّلِيلُ عَلَى الصِّحَّةِ. Unless the evidences show otherwise. Unless the evidences show otherwise. وَالْأَمْرُ بَعْدَ الْحَذَرِ يَرُدُّهُ إِلَى مَا كَانَ عَلَيْهِ قَبْلَ ذَلك. I already mentioned this issue. If you're commanded to do something after a prohibition, then it takes it back to what it used to be. And I gave the evidences of وَإِذَا حَلَلْتُمْ فَاصْطَادُوا. وَإِذَا حَلَلْتُمْ فَاصْطَادُوا. Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala is commanding the people of Hajj to do hunting. Allah is commanding them to do hunting after Hajj. Allah says, وَإِذَا حَلَلْتُمْ. Once you have left the state of Ihram, go and hunt. فَاصْطَادُوا. فَاصْطَادُوا is amr. It's a command. Does this command show obligation? No, we say no, it doesn't. Why? Because this command came after a prohibition. Because they were prohibited from hunting whilst they were in a state of ihram. And so it takes it back to what it used to be. What was it before? What was hunting before Hajj? It was mubah. It was mubah. If they wanted, they could hunt. And if they wanted, they could leave it. So it takes it back to what it used to be. It takes it back to what it used to be. Naam. Okay. وَالْأَمْرُ وَالنَّهْيُ يَقْتَضِيَانِ الْفَوْرَ. Okay, the author rahimahullah here, he says, if Allah commands you to do something, or if Allah prohibits you from something, do you have to do it straight away? Okay, you take your time. If Allah prohibits you from something, do you have to stay away from it straight away? The author is saying yes. You have to stay away from it straight away, and if Allah commands you to do something, you have to do it straight away. وَلَا يَقْتَضِي الْأَمْرُ التَّكْرَارِ. If Allah tells you to do something, does that mean you have to do it so many times? Or is it just once that suffices it? The author is saying once suffices it. إِلَّا إِذَا عُلِّقَ عَلَى سَبَبٍ. Unless the command is connected to a reason. And that reason keeps coming back. Like, for example, Allah says, subhanahu wa ta'ala, أَقِمِ الصَّلَاةَ لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ. Establish the prayer. لِدُلُوكِ الشَّمْسِ. Whenever the sun comes out and the sun reaches a particular stage, يعني, now the command has been connected to this. So then this, because this one keeps repeating, the command would have to keep repeating as well. But just a mere command, no. That's what the author is saying. The author then goes into alfadh al-umum, terms which are general. Alfadh which are umum, general terms. Words in the Arabic language are used as umum, general. He said kakul, like the word kul, wa jami' wal mufrad al mudaf. The word kul, it shows generalization. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, kullu nafsin da'iqatul maut. Everyone's going to taste death. Okay, the word jami' is also a generalization. Allah says, wal ardu jami'an qabdatu yawm al qiyamah. That the whole entire earth, all of it, jami'an, all of it, qabdatu yawm al qiyamah. Wal mufrad al mudaf is a singular. If it's ascribed, then it shows generalization. Wa in ta'uddu ni'mat Allah. If you count the blessings of Allah, even though the word ni'mah is only one, and the plural for it is ni'am or ala. But because the word ni'mah is being ascribed to Allah Azza wa Jalla, it shows generalization, it shows a lot, it shows umum. والمفرد المضاف والمفرد, the mufrad, if it's attributed to someone, it shows generalization. فَفْهَمْ هُدِيتَ الرُّشْدَ مَا يُضَافُ. So you say something like that in his قواعد الفقهية. Also, وَالنَّكِرَ فِي سِيَاقِ النَّهِي, a negation in the context of a prohibition shows generalization. If you're prohibited from something, but there's an indefinite word inside the text. So there's a negation, and then after it comes an indefinite word. This indefinite word shows generalization. Okay, it shows what? Generalization. نعم, لا قوله تعالى وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Worship Allah and do not associate partners with Him. Allah says وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ, worship Allah. وَلَا here, the la is nahiya. It's prohibition. شَيْئًا is an nakira, is an indefinite. It shows you're not allowed to associate partners with Allah anything. Anything. لا ملك مقرب ولا نبي مرسل. You can't say, oh, he's a righteous person, he's this. لا. The ayah says, وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا. Okay, or nafi, negation. وَمَا مِنْ إِلَهٍ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. That's an example for it. Or istifham, or an indefinite in the context of an interrogation. Like, مَنْ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ يَأْتِيكُمْ بِالضِّيَاءِ. Or shart, condition. وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجِرْهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنًا. أو الجنس, like إِنَّ الْبَقَرَ تَشَابَهَ عَلَيْنَا. أو الاستغراق, or it shows استغراق. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا, for example. All of those, they show generalization. All of those. All of those, they show generalization. The author then says, وَالْعِبْرَةُ بِعُمُومِ اللَّفْظِ لَا بِخُصُوصِ السَّبَبِ. If a ayah comes and the ayah is general, but it came down on a specific situation. It specifically came down on the Prophet ﷺ. But the wording is general. But it came down on the Prophet ﷺ. Okay? We will take the generalization of the wording and we are not going to specify it because of the person it came down on. Because if we do that, that means the whole Quran is going to be referring to Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali and the Sahabas and the munafiqeen that it came down on and the disbelievers that also came down on. Yani, all of it came down on other people, not us. La. We look at the ayat. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ فِرَ اللَّهِ. You can't say this ayah came down in this particular situation, so وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ is specifically speaking to so and so, not us. La, you can't say that. You say الْعِبْرَةَ بِعُمُومِ اللَّفْظِ لَا بِخُصُوصِ السَّبَبِ. We look at the general word that's used here, and we don't look at the specific person it came down on. If that ruling is specific on that person and it doesn't have anyone else in it, that's another discussion. Okay? That's another discussion. That is another discussion. An example the scholars give for this is that a man came to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, Ya Rasulullah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I kissed a woman. She's not my wife, she's not my sister. I kissed her. What do I do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent the ayah down on him. إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. The man said, Ya Rasulullah, is this ayah specifically for me only? Is it for me only? Am I the only one that's been spoken about in this ayah? إِنَّ الْحَسَنَاتِ يُذْهِبْنَ السَّيِّئَاتِ. Then the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Bel, this ayah, rather, it's for everyone in this ummah. Just not for you. But it came down on this man. The Prophet is teaching us the qa'idah, al-ibrata bi'umumi al-lafzi la bi khususi sabab. It's for anybody who is similar to this man in the situation he fell into. Okay? That's important to understand. The author then says, وَفِعْلُهُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ, the Prophet's actions. Alayhi salatu wasalam, we follow him in those actions. Unless there's evidence to show you that it's specific to him. Yani we can follow the Prophet's actions, alayhi salatu wasalam, generally speaking, he says, unless there's evidence that shows us otherwise. The author, rahimahullah, he talks about al-masailu qisman. The matters in the religion are two types. He says, مجمع عليها فتحتاج إلى تصور وتصوير على إقامة الدليل عليها ثم يحكم عليها بعد التصوير والاستدلال وقسم فيها خلاف فتحتاج مع ذلك إلى الجواب عن دليل المنازع هذا في حق المجتهد والمستدل وأما المقلد فوظيفته السؤال لأهل العلم. The author, rahimahullah, he says the issues of the religion are two types. Issues which are unanimously agreed upon. These issues, all they need from you is to understand it, it is to perceive it, it is to just know your evidences, and so you have a perception and the evidences, and you apply the two. It's already agreed upon. There's another discussion, there's another issue, which is issues which are disagreed upon. Issues which are disagreed upon. Yani there's khilaf. The scholars are differing upon this issue. This issue, it's not enough to just look at your evidence. And it's not enough for you to just have perception. Those two are not enough. What do you have to do? There's a third thing, which is you have to know the evidences of the opposing individual. And what is his arguments? The author says this issue of knowing the view of the other person, this is not the wadifatul muqallid. This is not the job of a blind follower. It's not the job of a blind follower. A blind follower, he doesn't know. He only knows what's for him and the evidences that he needs to use and that his shaykh told him. Then the author, rahimahullah, he goes into the issue of at-taqleed. He said taqleed is what? قَبُولُ قَوْلِ الْغَيْرِ مِنْ غَيْرِ دَلِيلٍ. It is to accept the statement of someone without no evidence. Okay? فَالْقَادِرُ عَلَى الْإِسْتِدْلَالِ عَلَيْهِ الْإِجْتِهَادُ وَالْإِسْتِدْلَالُ. But the one who has the ability to look for the evidences, he must look for the evidence and must do independent reasoning. As for the one who doesn't have the ability, he doesn't have the ability. عليه التقليد والسؤال. He has to blind follow and ask questions. As Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala said in the ayah, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. The people are two types. There's the one who's been asked and there's the one who's asking. That's it. You're either the one who's asked or you're the one who's asking. Khalas. There's no other middle path for it. Are we all together? The ayah says it. So this is the mujtahid and the muqallid, the blind follower. That's what the author rahimahullah mentioned, rahimahullah ta'ala. We'll leave it there inshallah ta'ala since the book is now finished. Shaykh rahimahullah completed it here. That's why he said at the ending, وَصَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَى مُحَمَّدٍ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ. He says رَسُولِ اللَّهِ وَعَلَى آلِهِ وَصَحْبِهِ وَسَلَّمَ. So we'll stop there inshallah ta'ala. Anything which I have said that was wrong or incorrect is from me, and shaitan and Allah and His Messenger are free from it. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أستغفرك وأتوب إليه.